Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Every Other Wednesday. Today's date is January 13th, 2021, the first show of 2021. Welcome, everyone. And if you want to just do a little silly thing in the chat box, give us a New Year's resolution, a unique New Year's resolution. I don't want to hear, I'm going for a run. So if anyone's got anything fun and exciting that they're hoping to do, like for me personally, it's about trying to stay a little more sane during 2021 and during lockdown. Anyone wants to share? By all means. What are we working on for 2021? Read one book per month. Excellent. Journal each day. Wonderful. I must see a rainforest. A socially distanced rainforest, I would assume. Read Sunjay's book. Woohoo!
Whoa! Wait a minute. Wait a minute. You got more reading to do than that.
You paid somebody to say that? I can't.
Absolutely. My doppelganger, Wayne. Determined to make 12 months, 2021. Yes, exactly. Nice, Rob.
All right.
Travel again. Actually, we were just saying right before the call, it's going to be fantastic. We're looking forward to, so as you know, the history of this Every Other Wednesday, the four of us, and Mike's not here, and he sends his blessings and Happy New Year's. The four of us started off as a mastermind group, and then when the pandemic hit, it was a brainchild that we kind of went forward. But what we would do is every 6 months, we'd get together physically and kind of help each other mentally, socially, business-wise. And we would do that in a location across North America. And we were saying that we hope that by the end of this year, the four of us will be in the same room again, and we'll hopefully even broadcast live with the four of us so we can throw things at each other and hit each other when one another misbehaves. So who are the team players? Michael Kerr is not with us. My name is Sunjay Nath. I am hailing to you from Oakville, Ontario, just outside of Toronto. And I will get the other two esteemed panelists to introduce themselves. Jeff, why don't you start us off?
Thank you, Sunjay. By the way, my resolution is to be more grateful. So I'm grateful to you guys every other Wednesday for supporting me. And by the way, I just want to read, Rick Wilson is looking to find somewhere to buy some beer. So I like that one too. But Jeff Tobe, hailing from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And I'm right now going to put in the chat box Mike Kerr's email address. And what I'm going to ask you to do, we like to play little jokes on everybody. So I'm going to ask you to, when we're done today, not right now, but would you email Mike and just tell him that he was missed? All right, just tell him he was missed. Mike@mikekerr.com. Richard?
I'm Richard Hadden, and I'm coming to you from Jacksonville, Florida. And I am the co-author of Contented Cows Give Better Milk and other books in that series. And New Year's resolution is to be a little, not to be so engaged in social media. I like social media. I don't have any problem with social media, but there's a dark side and a positive side. I'm going to stay on the light side of social media all year this year.
So you're going to use the force and not be converted to the dark side.
Yes.
Excellent. As you know, if you've joined us in the past, we try to have a theme for each one of these shows. And with the new year kind of upon us, and a lot of people making resolutions and deciding and planning for what's coming up, we decided to enable this talk, what we are calling, there we go. Sorry, 9 ideas to make 2021 mucher from an organizational culture perspective. Mucher is a technical term. If you're not familiar with it, it means better.
So we've been arguing about the meaning of that, by the way.
Exactly. So we're just going to kind of jump right into it. Number 9
Could this choice of words have anything to do that you are currently the father of young boys?
It may or may not.
Okay.
I'm not going to answer that on the grounds that I may be discriminated upon.
Yes.
So in the mucher theme, let's start with number 9, which is leverage digital learning. And by the way, this whole compilation is the four of us kind of got together and said, what are some of the things that our clients are doing? What are some of the buzzes that we are hearing? What are some of the ideas that we can share with the EO Wednesday crowd that will give them some ideas? And some of the stuff you may kind of cringe and roll your eyes and go, I'd rather eat my own spleen than do that. But we're also hoping that some of the stuff you may go, you know what, that'd be a great fit. And it's a pretty simple thing for me to do, or maybe I don't have to do the whole thing, but I can leverage part of it. So number 9 is leverage digital learning. Jeff, I know you have a lot to say on that. Talk to us.
Oh, okay. I didn't know it was my turn. Sure. You know what? I think one of the trends that I'm seeing is really using scenario-based content. So many times we don't make a connection between what's taught and the situation that our employees find themselves in. So I think digital learning can help bridge that gap, and it just creates a relatable scenario with characters and backgrounds, but stuff that they can use right away. And the second one I'll throw in quickly, since my turn, is also mobile learning. This is really, on the spot. I'm in the field. I got my phone, and I need some help or some ideas on something that I'm facing I may not have faced before, just before something in the field or just before I go into a meeting. So I really think scenario-based content and mobile learning are two things.
Yeah, and I think a lot of what's driving that is that people have an appetite now for much smaller chunks of things. Yeah, I remember when, Jeff and I, not so much Sunjay because he's a whole lot younger than us, but when Jeff and I first started doing training and speaking, I used to do a 2-day workshop. Nobody would sit for 2 days anymore. And so now we're seeing things in 2-minute slots. And I think that's really, really valuable. Another thing I wanted to say about what Jeff said about the scenario-based learning is, for those of you who are delivering scenario-based learning, I don't know about you, but for me, that's a lot more fun for me to be able to do that, because I can get more energized. It's just a better experience, not only for the audience, but also for the trainer. When you put things in real life situations, it just is a lot more fun.
If I could jump in here too, I don't know if you guys know this about me, but at the turn of the century, I used to own an e-learning company. And at the time, here's the quick story, was I met someone through speaking, and they had this great idea for this technology of kind of theme-based little snippets of digital learning. They were doing a lot of work with organizations that hired young people. And they used this actors and actresses that would go and put potential employees through scenarios that they might run into the stores. And this is how they taught them customer service. And some of their big clients were like, this is fantastic, but we have 300 stores. How can we do this? So we went to a foray into this e-learning world. And so what we basically did is we created a script that was essentially a choose your own adventure. So the pilot program was this big head on a screen, and it was like, where the hell is the manager? I got to speak to the manager. And there was a multiple choice selection that said, well, manager's not here. Can I help you with something? Take off, lady, and you had your options of what you could respond. And based on the right path, we actually had a PhD in organizational behavior that talked about the theory of what you're supposed to do. You could get to the ideal scenario. And the ideal scenario is maybe the customer's not elated, but maybe they're not going to try to have your job. And whereas the other paths would be like, I'm going to head office and I'm going to have you fired. And the reason I point this out is we were not particularly successful because of the timing. People loved the idea, but the technology just simply didn't exist. And to do these little modules, it was hundreds of thousands of dollars for people to do that. But now we can just jump onto YouTube and we can put together, pull out our phone and put together programs that are just micro programs, said 2-minute chunks, 3-minute chunks, 5-minute chunks, that give customers and clients and employees exactly what they need to leverage that. And the other thing too about this whole digital platform is it's so scalable, right? You could have a floor where people will get that training. Whereas where you're relying 100% on in-person training, well, if Sally was sick on the day of the training, they don't have it. Whereas if they hit play from the comfort of their phone or their desktop or their laptop, we know that everyone's gonna get to a certain level, and you can build on it from there.
Plus, they can sort of do it at their own pace, depending on what they're learning. But the bottom line is that if I'm at home right now and I'm managing kids and I'm managing my spouse, I'm managing my work, I may not be able to attend a meeting exactly when you need me to, but I have time at 10 o'clock tonight when everything calms down to look at 20 minutes worth of stuff. So I think it's a huge advantage for employees too.
Absolutely. Excellent. Let's move on. Number 8. Number 8 is, say that again?
Rhonda, like managing your spouse, I just want to say.
Exactly. Number 8 is use the wheel and other such technologies for upping meetings. And if you joined us in the past, we've used this a handful of times on EO Wednesdays. And essentially this one here, it will tell you the actual website. You just jump on the website. It's called wheelofnames.com. And I'm assuming everyone can see my screen here. And all you do is you just put in the names. You type in whatever names you want there, and you just hit the wheel, and it's a random generator. It's going to stop. It's going to tell you who the winner is. And it's really, really that simple. And if you have a copy and paste, you have 30 names, 50 names, 100 names, great. Mike won. And the question was, who's the punk that didn't show up? So there you go. And if you wanted to do it like, if you wanted to do it sort of like it's a prize-based thing, and you wanted to up your, increase your probability of winning, then I can do it like this.
Right.
And then
but Sanjay, you mentioned that you can do like 30 names. You can do an unlimited number of names. Mike has used this before right here, where he had everybody on the call, like all 100 and something plus people on it. You can't see the names, but once you spin it, it tells you what it is. So it's a great tool.
Yeah, I just introduced this to a client of mine, and they're doing role-playing scenarios with their sales team. And, it's always a challenge. Who wants to go first? Who wants to go second? Instead, they're using the wheel. And whoever's name comes up, they have to present. So
awesome. And let me sort of jump on that and go, can you guys think of any other little technology, little nuances or tricks or things for increasing the interactivity and the funness of some of these virtual meetings?
Oh, I got a million of them. Yeah. I mean, one thing that I saw is it's a great question to kind of start if you're doing a group meeting and all that. There's a lot of questions you can ask, but one that I heard that I really liked was, what was something that you learned from a grandparent? Okay. And not everybody, obviously some people will say, I never knew any grandparents, but many people will. And that's something they don't generally think about. And yet those lessons are often with us. So just one example.
I'll give you another example. I know that people have done this, and maybe we haven't brought it into the work environment, but it's doing a scavenger hunt, but a very specific one where ask people to find only one item. They have to, in this case, maybe it's a unique T-shirt, and then they have to go get it, bring it back to the meeting immediately, so it doesn't take a lot of time, and just ask people for a 1-minute explanation or a story behind that T-shirt.
Beautiful. The other thing too is there's this technology. It's relatively new. It's called Google, and a lot of times people are struck and they go, "I would love to be able to." And you'd be surprised if you just Google that. Like people are like, "Oh, I wish I had a nice timer I could do. I wish I could split my screen. I wish I could do this. I wish I could do that." And just jumping into Google and typing that in, going like, I need a wheel. To find wheel of names, what did I do? Random name generator. And then boom, there's a whole bunch of them, but wheel of names was the first one. So if you have some sort of an idea and you start a sentence with, "It would be nice if," I would highly recommend just jumping into Google. You'd be surprised what's available, what's free, and what's really simple and easy to do.
I got another one that I participated in a meeting just before Christmas, and I'm naming it. I don't know what to call it, but I'm naming it Freeze. So, it's hard to do a video call without freezing, right? So one of two things happens when that froze. This facilitator was right on the money. She said, "Quick, somebody take a screenshot," right? And then it's everybody has to write a caption underneath the screenshot was one thing. Yeah, because we never freeze like in a good position. And the second one was she suggested afterwards, and again, it was top of mind, that during your next meeting, pretend you freeze and just listen to what people say. So I like that.
Nice. Awesome. Anything else?
All right. Let's go to number 7.
Let's move on to numero set. Here we go. Have a monthly theme for the organization.
Wait, can I interrupt? I just want to make sure we're not putting anything in the chat box, guys. If you have an idea, especially for that last one, I'm looking for new ideas. How can we leverage technology and have some fun with it? So put it in the chat box and we'll get to it. Sorry.
Yeah, we're always looking for new ideas from our audiences. We don't know anything. We don't make any of this up. We rely on your input. So thank you.
Yeah, we don't make it up. We just steal it from other people. So, so yeah, the idea of having monthly themes for the organization. A lot of times people have energy and they don't know how to display it.
Yeah.
And so sometimes giving people a structure, even though it may not be very elaborate or even very sexy, but just the simple idea of giving people a platform will allow their creativity to ooze.
Absolutely.
And one of the things that I found over the years is when if you're giving feedback to someone, something as simple as that, if you give a structure to it, and they used to talk about the shit sandwich, the good news, the bad news, the good news again. But if you give people a structure that says you must give something positive feedback, something negative feedback, something positive feedback, you're giving them permission to say something negative. And sometimes people are really uncomfortable with that, and they've always wanted to say something, but now that you've given the opportunity, they can run with it. So this idea behind this theme is to kind of say, how can we express and articulate some of the ideas and concepts that are important to us? Maybe it's you pick a value of the corporation for each month, and then let people loose to how to explain that or how to live it.
Yeah, just something to put some focus on. You've got some things in the chat box, haven't you, Jeff?
Yeah, we do. I'm going to go back. Let me go back to that so we're not confusing one with the other. We're on number 7. Those have to do really with number 6. But number 7, and you just took it my wind out of my sail, Sunjay. But Mike Kerr, I hate to mention him when he's not here and give him credit as well. But you stole that from him because he talks all the time about value of the month. And I was thinking that when I read this question, because basically you're assigning each of your company values to a specific month, and then challenge everybody to live that value in, as he says, outrageously loud ways.
Yeah.
And come back and report on it. So,
and obviously it's not that value does not apply the following month. It's just that we're going to shine a light on it this month.
Yeah, exactly. One other that I thought about, and maybe I took it the wrong way, but I was thinking of a client who bought fitness trackers. You know, those fitness trackers, they bought one for every employee, like a Fitbit, I think that was called. Anyway, obviously I don't have one. So, but just a fun way to encourage health and wellness, as well as increasing inter-office relationships. And I don't mean that as,
right,
as intimate, but I read a study recently where it said that health programs were appreciated by, or have gone up during COVID by 235%, which I think is huge. So, you know, just maybe we start a contest of who can walk with the most steps in a week between one side of the office to the other. Like you have to keep it in the office, something, I don't know. But I think that, again, it maybe one of the values might be health and wellness. How do we promote that? So.
I actually was chatting with a bank that did something very similar, and they actually have walking buddies where they talk. It's just a weird concept. It's called audio calls only, no video, and they talk. They walk and talk, and this is something that's done structured through the bank as an effort to get people to be social. And I think they actually have a rule that there's no business talk allowed. So you actually have to be social and you have to be active. And so again, it's giving the platform and giving people a permission to do so.
Well done. So going back, I'm going to go back a little bit. Unless Richard, you want to add to this question?
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. So Lynn Gibbons said a Mentimeter, which I don't even know what that is, but I imagine it's similar to the wheel, and Kahoot, which I do know. Both are ways to have games in a meeting. So
and I want to send a special shout out to Lynn, a former client of mine, and say, it is good to see your name. Thank you for being here, Lynn.
Wait, she's a former client of mine.
Well, she was popular with all of us.
I'm kidding.
She hasn't hired me yet.
Kim Hines said, we played Never Have I Ever virtually in a meeting. Please hold up 3 fingers, then put them down. People, not please. Oh, sorry. People hold up 3 fingers, then put them down. Okay.
Please hold up 3 fingers.
I got it. No, people. She corrected it. So, Steve Rayfield asked people to name one thing they did or earned that no one would know unless they told you. Oh, an award in high school, a hobby. Yeah, something you don't know about you. They may not know about you. And this last, from this number 7, Natasha said, I did a step challenge for our team of 40 in 3 different locations. I got an app for everyone's phone from Countit. So check out countit.com. I love these. These are great.
Yeah.
Brian says open meeting with attendees, giving a personal best for the week. So that's great. I would have nothing to add, but I'm glad that he did that. So
great stuff.
I just recently had a conversation with someone and was talking about, for some reason, when we go virtual, there's a higher accountability. So people are like, what were you doing for the 6 minutes between 1:07 and 1:13? And people are like, I was using the restroom. And we don't have that same accountability in person. And we've actually worked out a system that our in-person interactivity is efficiently filled with inefficiencies. And what I mean by that is we have water cooler talk, and it's that little downtime where you say to check in with someone, hey, Jeff, how was your weekend? Which then that little down break allows us to jump forward and be more efficient with our current jobs. So all of a sudden, when we've gone to the online model, people are expected to be robots. And it's like 9 to 5, you did 13 minutes here and you did 17 minutes there. And we're having to be so precise and so accountable that we need to factor in the downtime. We need to factor in you're not allowed to talk about work. So some of these ideas of, let's never have I, or giving shout outs or even making it more personal are very, very powerful.
By the way, Mentimeter is an app that creates a voting for a question. It's like Poll Everywhere, which is also a great one, and we've used. I know we've all used. I want to just address Rhonda had a question. She said, any recommendations for really large groups? And Lynn responded that they've used Kahoot with large groups as long as everybody downloads that app. The other thing is the t-shirt idea I gave would be great with the wheel that Sunjay showed. So you enter everybody, and even, I just thought of something else. Tell everybody before to wear their favorite t-shirt.
Yeah.
Right? And you got to put some parameters on there. Can't be any immoral, illegal, whatever. And then you put everybody's name in the wheel, spin it, and they have and it picks maybe 4 people or 5 people to explain what their t-shirt and what it means to them. So
yeah. And of course this may be obvious, this may be stating the obvious, but if you have really large groups and it's a virtual setting, just put them in breakout groups and do the same thing a number of times with the breakouts.
Recently, what I've been doing, talking about creative thinking in one of my workshops, I had 170 people in a workshop, and I had them all draw a coffee cup. And there was a reason, because everybody draws them differently, but then hold them up to the screen. It was kind of cool to see everybody with how many different, and the point is exactly that. I say draw a coffee cup, it should look exactly the same, but everyone looks different, right?
That's great. I like that. Yeah.
Perfect. All right, let's move on. Number 6. Create a display in a customer-facing area, physical or virtual, that showcases your culture to your customer. Now, Richard, I'm going to jump to you because I know that this is something that you brought forward.
Yeah, well, one example that I have a client. It's a hospital. They are undergoing a pretty strong emphasis on culture, and one of the things we want to take advantage of with culture is making sure that our customers are aware of our culture. And one good way to educate them quickly is by something like that. So in this particular case, this hospital has created an acronym that describes not just their values, but certain promises that they are making to their patients and other customers. And those appear on a 8x10 poster in every patient room. The elevator doors are wrapped with this, and there are other posters and so forth. Plus, they have screens throughout the hospital that bring up, information, and it's kind of like a rolling slideshow. And every few slides will be something about their culture. In addition, on their website, they also have part of their culture message displayed so that anyone who goes to their website is going to have that as well. So take advantage of your culture and make sure you educate not only your employees about it, but where it really does you good also is with your customers. Educate them. That's one way to do it.
Yeah, Richard, I hadn't even thought about this until you suggested it. And I think the bottom line is you have to remember that your company culture is shaped by leadership, but it's made up of real people, real individuals. Yeah. And so displaying your company culture, I think, lets visitors see and connect with that. Yeah. That this is permeated through our organization. It's all our employees. It kind of humanizes the organization and makes it more accessible for the client, the visitor, in this case, the patient. And it just allows people to put faces like real people that make up the company versus just a mission statement up on the wall. So I loved it. I thought it was a great idea.
And it also brings a certain tangibility to it. So if you think back to your professors, the ones that were all theoretical and just gave you theory after theory, it was like your eyes glossed over and you're like in a catatonic state. It's the ones that brought examples and stories that really brought it to life. And so this is an example of taking something that's abstract and making it concrete so people can actually enjoy it on a completely different level.
Yeah.
Cool. All right.
I'm going to go back to Cassie's suggested Jackbox games via Zoom breakout rooms. Buy the Steam code. So Cassie, maybe you can just put a little more explanation about what a Steam code is, unless you guys know.
And that'll be in the record on the chat. And when you get your link tomorrow, you'll be able to see that.
Great. Cool. Number 5, get the CEO to create a brief weekly video sharing news, appreciation, and culture wins.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you've probably seen examples like this. I've seen it done well. I've seen it not done not so well. I saw, because people share with me things that have been happening during our virtual life since March of last year. And somebody said, oh, well, yeah, I heard you talk about doing weekly videos. Let me send you one that our CEO sent. And it was the CEO excoriating people for not doing this and not doing that. And I thought, yeah, everybody really loves to open up a video and get, fussed at. At the same time, I've seen some other examples of, and again, weekly is good. It doesn't have to be fancy. Do not set up a studio. I'm talking, hello, everyone, and create a quick video, send it out there. My wife works for a national nonprofit organization, and the CEO of there, and they have all been working from home since March of 2020. And the CEO sends out a weekly video message. She shares it with me every week, and this guy does a great job. And they kind of took a couple of weeks off at Christmas, and many people were not working. He didn't do it during that. This first message that he sent of the first year, it was all thanking them. There was nothing, they didn't share news, they didn't share strategy, they didn't share update. They said, thank you. Thank you to this person for that. Thank you to this department for that. And it was really uplifting. So easy to do and has a really great impact.
A few years ago, a client of mine, Wells Fargo, as a matter of fact, for better or for worse, they actually started a daily newscast, and it was recorded. And once in a while, they would have the CEO, but they actually hired an outside talent, and it was always at noon. But it was recorded, so you could watch it at any time. They broadcast live events, they had a CEO town hall series, and they broadcast that. They actually set up like a TV station, like an actual, studio. And they interviewed different managers, people of interest. It was fascinating. And I've always thought of that, because I thought, especially now, what a great idea. And of course, I would be happy to be the talent if anybody wants to hire me. Did I say that out loud? I did. Sorry.
Perfect. The other thing though too is don't get caught in that it has to be the CEO. I think it's obviously great. Yeah. It's great from that leadership perspective and to set the table. But ideally what you want people to take ownership of it. Someone go, I can do that, or I can do it better, or
that's even better.
It's a multi-pronged approach. So the CEO is doing one thing and giving it from one perspective, but then you also have a different perspective from different levels within the organization. All right, number 3, and I know I can just feel the anticipation as people are getting
number 4.
Did I leave out number 4?
Number 4. Yeah.
Like I said, number 4. So good, someone's paying attention. All right, create an organizational charity or volunteer initiative that's consistent with your culture.
Yeah, I think that, we can all, it really feels good, and it's good for the organization. It's good for the people in your organization when they can do something for people perhaps less fortunate or less privileged than they are. 2 examples that I know of recently, an organization where performance is a big part of their culture. They happen to be here in Jacksonville, where I live, and they decided to provide volunteer and real dollars charity contributions to a performing arts organization here in town. Get it? Performing arts. And I'll do a shout out to my favorite performing arts organization, which is the Jacksonville Children's Chorus here in Jacksonville, on whose board I served for 10 years. And they gave money and volunteered to the Jacksonville Children's Chorus because of their cultural element of performance. One other example was a company that has, as part of their culture, continuous learning. This one was easy. They had people volunteer to simply do online tutoring for middle school students. Sunjay, that's real easy, isn't it? Dealing with middle school students,
They're simple. I got a couple. I can go get them right now if you want.
Okay.
Doing homeschooling right now.
Tutoring for those people. And the employees said maybe the kids got something out of it, but they got so much out of it. And with with the advent of more online and Zoom and Teams and all that, it just makes it easier. So that's just another idea. Let's move on to the next one.
Well, I just was doing some employee engagement training, and we were talking about this. How do we get people more engaged? One of the things, so we did some research. I just wanted to throw this out because three of them that stand out in mind for me. One was Alaya, ALAYA.com. If anybody wants to check it out, causecast.com. But my favorite was Millie.com. And because Millie was just, what it is it's a workplace giving platform. It's kind of designed to make charitable giving and volunteering fun. And so you set up, it's almost like a separate thing you set up just for your organization. It doesn't matter about the size. And people participate online telling what they've done and what charities they've worked with. And it just helps companies build a culture of giving back. I think that's what we're talking about, right?
The four of us had a side conversation about a week or two ago where we were talking about what we need. What people need is, what was it? Something to look forward to, someone to love, and something to do.
Yeah.
And it's a sense of purpose is what it is. And so by partnering with a charitable organization, it often gives people a sense of purpose and pride within the organization.
I'm just entering those into the chat box for people. So
great. Thank you, Jeff.
Perfect. All right. Number 3 is stop tolerating virtual and let's start embracing it.
You want me to talk about that one too? Do I have to be the one that has all the ideas? Okay.
No, I have it.
No, I've just noticed, and perhaps some of you have too, that I think early on in the pandemic, people were saying, well, that we're coming up this hill and we're almost to the crest of the hill. So it's we're going to be there pretty soon. So we don't really need to embrace this whole virtual thing because we're not going to have to do it for a little while, for after much longer. And I think there is no hill, right? Okay, even without a pandemic, we're going to be doing things like this for maybe forever. And so I've heard from employees who said, my employer absolutely embraces this and it is working so well and that's the way to go. And others have said to me, I feel a little bit like the redheaded stepchild. I can say this because all of my children, not stepchildren, but they are all redheaded. I feel like a little bit like the redheaded stepchild because I'm working from home and some of my colleagues have come back into the office. And so rather than creating that dual kind of culture and kind of tolerating it, well, if you have to, if you can't get back into the office just yet, if you don't have the commitment to really be here, we got to absolutely embrace it because it is where we are and let's make the very most of it.
Can I add the but?
Yeah.
But I think we have to only focus on necessary meetings. Zoom fatigue is a real thing. And I think that meetings already have a bad reputation.
Yeah, well, a whole lot of work more work gets done outside of meetings than in meetings. So I'm certainly not advocating more meetings. I'm just saying if people are going to work from home,
I agree.
Let's give them full permission to be proud to do that and not as if they're kind of in a special not as good category.
Yeah, but I have clients who've interpreted this time as meetings all the time.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, you're available, so we can now have a meeting all the time.
But it's the same thing with all technology. It's like a cell phone. Okay, yeah, you're available now. I can just email you at 3 a.m, so I will. So like anything else, there are tools and they can be used and they can be abused.
Yeah.
Right. And this idea of tolerating versus embracing, we see it. They say history repeats itself. We see this with racism. It's racial tolerance. No, it's not racial tolerance. It's racial celebration, or whatever it is. Disabilities, any sort of divergence, cultural, whatever it is. We always are going to move further ahead when we appreciate that because you're different, or because this is new. There's going to be things that suck about it. Absolutely, especially during the transitionary period. But there's also a whole beautiful world that it opens up to us. And I think we were thrown into the fire here, right? Because what happened was, and I'm sure you all found the same thing, March, everyone kind of slammed on the brakes and everything kind of slowed in April, May, and everyone's like, this too shall pass. And then all of a sudden, kind of June, July, people are like, well, the more proactive people kind of like, well, we should check out this Zoom thing and maybe we're going to try to interact. But then you also have the people even now who are going, nope, it's all a made up thing. It's not here to stay. And the reality is we're not going back to how it was before, and it's not going to stay like this. There's going to be some sort of a combination of both. So since it's here, let's embrace it.
Yeah. And I just want to close this part out by saying I want to just reiterate and emphasize that I'm not just talking about using the technology to meet together online. I'm talking about people working from home.
Yeah.
And as opposed to being in the office, that it does not show a greater or lesser degree of commitment.
Cool. Yeah. All right. Number 2, have an intentional focus to improve culture. Actually have a conscious bias to do so.
Yeah,
Jack?
I got 2 things I want to say on that. One is, I think we need to take, if we haven't done so already, take an employee-centric approach. And I think that's been emphasized over the last 9 months or so. Maybe management first considers the employees and how business decisions affect them. I know in huge organizations that's not always the case, but it's their perspective, not ours. And even taking it into consideration can change what we decide. The second thing is, I think it's a case of building trust and connecting. It's what I call connecting at scale. Just that, human beings are wired to perceive threats, and in order to build a culture of trust, which is probably huge in most organizations, you have to remove that perception of a threat. And so I think that intentional focus on improving culture will eventually remove that perception.
I am a big believer. Let's remove the victimitis piece out of it. And we can't just kind of cross our fingers and hope and then kind of go, well, why is the culture suck? Well, it sucks because no one's going to do anything about it. I brought up this analogy a long time ago, which was if you're going to have a culture will exist. Good culture means it aligns with the values that you want. Bad culture means it doesn't. But what's a good culture in one organization may not be a good culture in another organization. So the analogy I was drawing was if you leave a chunk of land out, vegetation will grow on it. And if you happen to like dandelions and thistles, great, because that is what you're going to get. But if you complain every day going, well, there's always weeds in my garden, I would ask you the question, which is, well, first of all, is it important to you? And if it is, are you weeding and are you fertilizing and are you watering accordingly? And so all that happens from the intentionality of kind of going, well, this is what I want. This is how I see the organization moving forward in the future.
Richard, I have to say, we got 39 minutes into this, and Sunjay had not used an analogy. I thought we were going to make all 45.
It shouldn't count for 2 reasons. Number 1 is because I'm kind of facilitating here, and number 2 is I've already used that analogy. So
I know. You already used
well, and the thing that I was going to point out for our listeners and our viewers here is that not only do you get information on culture, you also get information on horticulture when you come to our meeting. So,
and good insults to give to people. All right. Shall we, are we good on that?
Yeah,
yes.
I think we're good. I'd like to ask the audience, though, to participate a little bit and just say, how are you going to make,
we have 2 more, one more to do.
Yeah, in 6 minutes.
Yes. And there's a bonus one.
They can add.
No, we don't want to hear from them at all. No, that's it. They're cut off. All right. As they're typing, we'll go on to number 1. Number 1, and this is really important. I highly recommend this one. This is absolutely critical. I'm not trying to overplay it, but do this or the earth will destruct.
Let me also say that if they don't do this, then there's something wrong with the organization.
That's clearly true. Attend EOW Wednesday and bring all your friends. Absolutely. The more the merrier. And the other thing though too is in all seriousness, that this works better the more people we have, the more synergy we have, the more ideas, more discussions in the chat box. So if you do find value in these sessions, we highly invite you to invite your people. The price is right. We were actually thinking of doubling the fee this year. So
yeah. We're going to hold off. We're going to hold off.
We're going to hold off on that. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's half the fee then.
I do want to mention that we did have a meeting to focus on what we're going to do with EO Wednesday for this year. And one of the things we're going to do, and I'm going to announce this now, is we're going to have a contest. As a matter of fact, we're going to have a contest every single time we get together. This contest that we're starting with is we want to, and we meaning all 4 of us, unfortunately Mike isn't here, but we want to invite you to be a co-host with us. How do you do that? All you do is send me an email, jeff@jefftobe.com. Say, I want to be a co-host. We don't know when. It'll be sometime this year. And we will kind of put the names in a hat and we'll pick. And we would love for you to be our 5th cohort. Not every show, but once in a while we'll have a co-host. So jeff@jefftobe.com. I'll put it in the chat box. And
I just saw something from Rhonda that said,
we'll do that.
We will absolutely do that.
We'll
Rhonda.
do that.
But wait a minute. But don't go yet.
No, that's not the end.
Now we'll throw in the Ginsu 2009. We actually have a bonus one. I know this is so exciting. And it says this: bonus, hire one or all of the Culture Club for your organization and buy all of our books and inventory, and you'll also get good karma for it. So if you want to start off 2021 right, that's the way to do it.
And also, Rhonda has a great idea. And Richard, I'm going to put this on you. Could we send attendees another email that they could send on to coworkers? So
sure will. That is a beautiful idea. Happy to do that.
Idea. And Rhonda, thank you for mentioning
I'm excited to do that. Yeah.
It doesn't have to be coworkers. It can just be your entire mailing list. So
yeah,
it could be the entire universe.
And Lynn Given is going to pay twice as much. So I as she's been paying so far. So
thank you, Lynn. You're the best.
I love that.
Awesome.
Okay.
Well, thank you. I will turn it over to Richard.
Okay. Well, listen, everybody. Really, don't go away. We've only got 2.5 more minutes, and I promise that that it'll be worth your while. We appreciate you all being here. Next 2 weeks from today, a lot will have happened between now and 2 weeks from today, and that is going to be on the 27th of January. And this time, I will be playing the role of Mike Kerr and not here. Mike will be back. I'm actually going to be working with a client that day. Sanjay and Jeff will be here.
We don't have clients.
We don't have clients.
You just don't have them on Wednesdays. That's the thing. But we will announce in the 24 hours after this, you always receive an email, and we'll have the video, the recording of this session, and also it will announce what we're doing in 2 weeks. And we will announce that in that video and not right now. So everybody look for that email, and you'll see what we're going to be doing on January the 27th. So. Yeah.
And
I think
Rhonda,
with that,
Rhonda has asked one more favor. She's asking for information from all of us individually that she can forward to her higher ups. Rhonda will get that to you too. Thank you.
Oh, yes. And we appreciate your asking that. Thank you. All right. Anything else, gentlemen?
We have
Jeff
2 minutes.
Or Sanjay.
I just want to say, I hope 2021 is better for everyone. I don't see how it could get much worse in 2020. So, things are looking up. Thank you to everyone who spends their time with us. I've said this many times that during COVID, my experience is that people are busier, not necessarily more productive and not necessarily making more money, but definitely busier. That just means that time is more of a premium. So we appreciate you spending the time with us every other Wednesday.
Yeah. Okay. Goodbye, everyone. Okay. We'll see you every other Wednesday. Bye.